Tiny buildings, what do they look like? And we assume hopefully no cockroaches to be found.
It is big, it is grand. I have not seen any cockroaches. I will say it's a little loud. We just heard from JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon wrapping up, and he opened his speech with a reflection. You think about the office building that did stand here at 270 Park. JP Morgan actually demolished that building to build this one. That was the largest U.S. building to ever voluntarily be demolished. Now we stand in the lobby of 270 Park, just opening a construction project that actually finished on time, which is a feat in and of itself. But all told, this will house about 10,000 JP Morgan employees. It will have 60 stories, and it will also have a pub on the 13th floor that is called Morgan's. And it comes at a really interesting moment for New York City. We also heard, of course, from New York Governor Kathy Hochul, but we're just weeks away, of course, from the city's mayoral election. And here comes JP Morgan with this renewed commitment to New York City.
How much of this is also a commitment and maybe even a call and a demand that you need to get into the office, Katie? If it has a gym, if it has a pub, if it has restaurants, it seems like you could live your life in the new JP Morgan headquarters.
And I don't think Jamie Dimon would necessarily be opposed to that. I will say that this building, it took 6 years to build, $4 billion. And we know that JP Morgan moved back to being 5 days a week in the office earlier this year. So the marching orders are clear here. And you think about the really commitment to this block. It's not just 270 Park. JP Morgan, its temporary quarters has been in 383 Madison, which is actually right across the street. Now they plan to spend $1 billion renovating that building as well. That will open in 2027. So 5 days a week in the office. And you think about the corporate workers that JP Morgan has in New York City, more than 17,000 corporate workers, all in the office 5 days a week.
Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakha Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and others of great millstone who were well. And peace and blessings to the Lord's elect, the house of David. All right, so brother Haran coming back at you with another lesson. Lower than to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, have an article here, want to share real quick here, going into the ends of times that we're in. All right, at this point, we're all anticipating, all right, the very day where they officially make the MOTB mandatory upon the face of the earth. All right, where every man, woman, and child will be required by law to have this digital device implanted into them as a form of identification. All right. And they already have the technology, all right, to be able to bring this prophecy to fulfillment. All right. Prophecy in the book of Revelation, the 13th chapter. Okay. Concerning the MOTB. All right. And this article pretty much speaks to that. All right. Pretty much the beginning stages of, that time where very soon it's going to be the standard. All right, I'm going to use that word standard or standardized. All right, way of doing things, way of living, so to speak. All right, standard or standardized. All right, we're gonna see that word come back. All right, soon. But we have something here. All right, which says title: JP Morgan staff can't access the company's new $3 billion NYC headquarters without handing over their biometric data. Okay, so it's a beautiful thing. All right. So Thawadi Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. All right. For the times that we're in. Okay. We get to see these things. We get to actually live these things. And through the spirit power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, only the elect will make it through this. Only the elect will make it out. All right. Of these times. All right. And the trying times are ahead. The hour of temptation. Okay. For many. All right. It's already kicking in. All right. But that's just the preparation until the time when it really becomes life and death, literally. Okay, and the time is 441. All right, Barakateh Yahweh Bashim Yahushai for that. All right, but let's read. It says, employees have to use their fingerprint or an eye scan at the security checkpoint in the lobby. So the system is already set up. All right, you have the MOTB technology, right? That's what we're already seeing set up. We got the MOTB mentality, okay, which is what the technology pretty much ushers in, right? The technology is there to get the mentality prepared for the MOTB reality, okay? And at that point, everything will be connected, and in order for you to gain access, you have to be connected and plugged in. All right, quite literally. All right, so it says key takeaway says JP Morgan is the largest bank in the US with $3.46 trillion, trillion dollars in assets. Earlier this year, JP Morgan finished constructing a new $3 billion 60-story, right? The 3 and a 6. Okay, 60-story office space at 270 Park Avenue, New York. All right, Park Ave. If you've been there, you know it carries a very demonic energy. All right, Park Ave, man. Okay, it says the bank is now requiring employees to scan their fingerprints or eyes to gain access to the building instead of using a traditional ID badge. Okay, so there've been talks of digital IDs. All right, but it's not just digital IDs. Remember, these are steps that leads to the one thing, which is going to be the RFID. This is something that the people from IUIC are not mentioning. They're not saying these things. They're not letting you know what's obvious. It's plain as day. Okay, it's plain as day. All these companies are going towards the same direction. All right, and we're going to bring up another company that they've been doing this. They were the first to do this back in 2017, 3 Square Market. Okay, so they pretty much set the tone and set the standard. And almost a decade later, you got these companies who are in power positions also going into that same direction. All right, it's not going to stop. All right, it's only going to speed up as the days get closer and closer. Okay, you're going to see multiple companies band together and bring about this desired goal of everyone being micro, you know what? All right, implanted. I'm gonna just say that. Okay. It says JP Morgan Chase, the biggest bank in the US with $3.46 trillion in assets, is now requiring employees to share biometric data if they want to gain access to the investment bank's newly constructed New York City headquarters. Okay. And we mentioned this, that a lot of these stores that were shutting down out of nowhere, right? If they were to reopen, which some of them are, all right, whenever they reopen, it's more of a reconstructed, like the terms they use, reimagined, like this, the things that they say, right? It's a reimagined way of how the thing used to be that you were used to before the whole reimagination happened. They renovate it, fix it up and all that, and then they put in all this technology stuff, cameras everywhere, sensors everywhere, RFID tech reader everywhere. Okay, that's the future of the system of the beast, and we're living in it like right now. So only intensified, like we always say, it only gets worse. If you got people complaining right now about how things are, remember, you still have things in your life right now. You wait till you get to a point where you have nothing, like they told you. It says, according to Financial Times, JP Morgan has emailed staffers already working at the new Manhattan building to notify them that biometric access is required instead of voluntary. You hear that? You hear that? Let's read that again. According to the Financial Times, okay, JP Morgan has emailed staffers already working at the new Manhattan building to notify them that biometric access is required instead of voluntary. Huh? So what you saying now? Okay, what you say? Just like that. They skip the whole voluntary step. Boom, required. Boom, that's it. Now what? You need the job. Okay, that's why things are so difficult right now. They're doing this on purpose. We told you this. All right, the scarcity then brings about the restlessness, the stress, okay, the desperation. Okay, as they take more away from you, the more desperate you're gonna get. It'll be easier for you to break. That's the whole point of all this that's going on, is to break the people's will, the will to survive, the will to stand against what's coming. It's happening incrementally. All right, the boiling frog method. right? The gradualism. Okay, so it's happening incrementally, right? Or call it the accelerated gradualism. It's happening, but it's happening slow but fast, right? Things are happening slowly but fast, which is crazy. You know, only the Lord could do something like that. You know, things are happening on a daily basis. Time is flying, but it seems like things are happening slow enough for people not to notice it. All right. Even those who notice it, it's happening so fast that there's nothing they can do about it. So it's like it's fighting in both ways. You know what I'm saying? You see it, but it's moving fast and it's too fast. I can't do that. I can't slow down. And those who don't know what's going on is just moving slowly, gradually. They're just slowly just entering into it. And they don't even know what's going on. You know? It's just going to hit them. It's just going to hit them just like that. All right? That sudden destruction. It's just going to hit them. You know, and they shall not escape. It says biometric authentication means that employees have to scan their fingerprints or eyes at the security checkpoint in the lobby instead of swiping their ID badges. So the ID badge now is not going to work. It's not acceptable no more. When you try to scan it, it's just going to give a red error code or an X. Man, you can't go in. And you keep forcing it a couple more times, security's going to come talk to you. All right. But you'd be like, yo, but I work here. Yeah, but how do you get in? All right. The badge is not working. Obviously, the badges are turned off. They don't work. So you got to get the fingerprint or you got to get the eye scan. I mean, do you want to get back to your office and finish the job that you're supposed to do so you can get that bonus that we promised you, that you've been working so hard to do? You see how these devils play games, man? They make you work on these stupid little silly projects, you know, keep you consumed. They're feeding off of your energy. You're making their company better and greater, right? By screwing other people over, doing all kinds of different shit, whatever. But you're taking time out of your life to help them build this conglomerate. And then after they're done using it, they say, oh, you know what? We decided that we're going to part ways with you, whatever. Or this is just the new system. You go along with it, or you're just going to be ousted. It's up to you. But we know you need a job. I mean, everybody else is doing it. It's not like you could just leave Chase and go to Capital One. Capital One going to be doing the same thing. Wells Fargo is going to be doing the same thing. Bank of America is going to be doing the same thing. They're all interconnected. That's when people going to realize it. That these banks are all little babies off of the central bank itself. The Federal Reserve Central Bank itself, owned by the Rothschilds. So all these different banks that are around here, guess what? It goes back to the Rothschild family. They are the ones in control of all of this shit. Okay? And they're the ones who are going to bring in that financial collapse that forces people to want to make that digital move, which is going to end up with you having to be required to take that MOTB. It's just that simple. All right, so these are the steps that leads to that. It says some JP Morgan staffers have already been working at the new super tall tower located at 270 Park Ave in New York since August, when construction was completed. The 60-story, 2.5 million square foot building reportedly cost $3 billion to build and is expected to function as the main headquarters for up to 14,000 JP Morgan employees by the end of the year. As of January, listen to this, JP Morgan employed over 24,000 workers in New York City. So they're giving jobs. People need them, right? But what happens now? Let's read. JP Morgan isn't the first company to plan to use biometric data as an entry point. In August, Midtown apparel company Isaac Morris aimed to replace its ID badge entry system with facial recognition, but quickly backtracked after employees voiced privacy concerns. Okay? But eventually, the privacy concerns would just be noise in the background. If you voice concern, we're just going to let you go. Because times are tough. Everyone is looking for a job. You cannot afford to talk or speak up because you might just lose your job. It goes against company policy. That's how they're creating it. That's the system we're living in now. You can't speak up against what's going on. You can't speak your mind against the company policies. You're bound by that. So it's either you speak up, stand on what you believe on, and get kicked out, meaning fired, and you have no job, and now you got to deal with life without a job and being looked at as a damn DT, right? Or you could just comply and still have a job and just be quiet. There's nothing you can do about it. Just go along to get along, and that's it. Okay? However, biometric data is considered sensitive, personal, identifiable information which could result in harm if compromised or disclosed without authorization in a cyber attack. Okay, so they always say, oh, this is for your safety, but yet this whole thing, this whole AI thing is not even regulated, bro. There is no regulation on AI. These governments haven't came together to say, hey, these are things you can and cannot use AI for in protection of people's rights and freedoms. They're not doing it. So AI can be used, and Trump already signed a bill, which I believe is law, that the states can't veto anything AI related for at least 10 years. And then he proceeds to give Palantir a 10-year deal. It's like, okay, what's going on? All right. What's going on is this was going on. All right. This was going on. Everything is moving fast because this was going on. It's the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. It says, therefore, rejoice ye heavens and ye that dwell in them. Woe to inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So all the things that you're about to see, okay, upon the face of the earth, it's going to be painful. But remember, it's because these devils know that they don't have much time left. All right, in order for them to actually get that new world order, people still got to be asleep. But way too many people are waking up, way too many people are talking, way too many truth is out there. It's a problem for them. Okay, it's a problem. They're threatened by it. So they're going to do something about it. All right, that's all lining up with biblical prophecy. Them doing something about it is the Lord using them as his whipping stick to bring about judgment. So it works hand in hand. All right. So continuing, it says, because ultimately Esau is the Lord's sword, as is written in the book of Psalm. All right. It says JP Morgan disclosed in January 2024 that it faces 45 billion hacking attempts per day, leading the bank to employ a substantial tech workforce to counter the threat. As of March, the bank's tech workforce numbered 63,000 employees, about 21% of its global headcount. Biometric registration is still optional for employees who are working in other JP Morgan offices, such as the one in London. Okay, well, if this is the headquarters and they're doing it, what makes you think that the other ones are not going to follow the suit, right? It says JP Morgan has implemented voluntary hand biometrics at its Bank Street office in London. So it's voluntary now, just like the other one was voluntary, and then it became required. See, it always starts off voluntary until they get a certain amount, then they make it required. Okay, which encrypts an employee's handprint to allow access into the building, per the Financial Times. You see that? Earlier this year, JP Morgan pulled the plug on hybrid work and told all 300,000 of its global employees it was time to be back in the office full-time, 5 days a week starting in March. The return to office push met with some internal opposition, as more than 1,900 workers signed a petition calling on the bank to stick to a hybrid work schedule. All right, well, I mean, they look at you as slaves, so they ain't trying to hear all that. All right, but another company that pretty much has been ahead of the curve. Now these JP Morgan and them, they're late in the game right now. All right, and that company we're talking about here is known as the company known as 3 Square Market. All right, 3 Square Market, and now 3 Square Market, they're not even like talking about digital IDs. All right, they are full blown telling you this is about you getting that C-hip in you. That's it. All right, and it's not even about. Forget about telling you, they're doing it. All right, so let's get it. It says, Wisconsin company first in U.S. to offer employees human C-hip implants with payment processing implications, right? Buying and selling. All right, buying and selling. So it says, 3 Square Market is taking a big step beyond network-connected wearables and augmented reality, offering implanted C-hip technology to all its employees. Okay? So JP Morgan is telling all employees you got to come back to work. Oh, by the way, it's mandatory for this headquarters here. You got to have your biometrics in order to enter. And very soon, it's just mandatory. Everybody got to do it. No more badge IDs. You see? So they're leading to exactly where 3 Square Market has been at. All right, this whole time. All right. They want everywhere around the world to become like Sweden. Go look it up. See how Sweden is operating right now. How their people live. Okay. It says, reportedly the first company in the U.S. to offer C-hip implants to its employees. The initiative invokes visions of a cyborgs or the integration of technology and humans. There you go. All right, being the transhumanism. All right, all that stuff, the meta and all that. All right, company employees who opt in will have a tiny RFID, which is radio frequency identification, micro, implanted underneath the skin between the thumb and forefinger. 3 Square Market explains in a press release. All right, so remember, all these other corporations and companies, all right, are going to follow the lead that 3 Square Market already took. All right, they're going to follow that same lead, man. All right, they're following 3 Square Market's lead. All right, it says, similar to SIM C-hips and mobile communication devices, RFID tags have been used widely in a variety of forms to make it easier to buy things. Why isn't it for any other purpose? Why isn't it saying, oh, it's so that you can open doors and close doors? Why isn't it that? Why is it to buy things? Because it's a fulfillment of the prophecy in the book of Revelation 13, verse 16, 17, and 18. All right, in regards to the MOTB. Okay, this is what John saw. We're living in times what John saw, which was in the time of what? Great tribulation. All right, evil. Right, evil like never before. As the scripture says, troubles. Jacob's trouble, a time like never before. All right, Daniel, the 12th chapter talks about the same thing. All right, a time that has never been upon the face of the earth. All right, so think about that. You got AI everywhere. You got all this robot stuff, and you got these wicked ass elites being more wickeder than before, right? More wicked than ever. They're just coming out with it. The man of lawlessness, okay, the man of sin, being revealed. They're being revealed, man. They're not hiding it. All right, all these plans they have, all these agendas, it sounds great, yeah. But when it play out and it gets to its end goal, it's always some bullshit that we all hate at the end of the day. All right, so why let it go on if you know the end goal? Why let it go on? Because it's called biblical prophecy. It's playing out exactly as the scripture says. All right, it says it's a big step from paying for products or services by scanning or snapping and sending a photo of products barcode with your mobile phone to having a C-hip implanted in your body. However, the implications given widespread adoption will be deep and far-reaching in the world of e-commerce, ethics, security, and humankind. Working in partnership with its partner, Sweden's Biohacks International, that's another one, Biohacks, okay? 3 Square Market is focused on privacy and integrity, ethical development, and sustainability. Management says eventually this technology will become standardized. Remember that word, standard or standardized. All right, it will be what? This technology will become standardized, allowing you to use this as your passport, public transit, all purchasing opportunities, etc. Commented 3 Square Market CEO Todd Westby. Okay, let's look up the word standardized. Let's see what we can pull up. Standardize. It says here, I don't like this one. I don't like this definition right here. You can't use the same word to describe the word. Standardized. Meaning standardized. Right, standardized. It says, cause something to conform to a standard. So now we're going to look up the word standard. Okay. Cause something to conform to a standard. Systemize or systematize. Okay. Normalize. New normal. Assimilate. Okay. Methodize. Homogenize. Bring into line. Okay. Make uniform. All right. So basically, forcing everyone to be under a certain code of conformity. That's just what it is. And the best way to do that is to have everyone micro-C-hipped. You see, But this guy, Todd Wesby, all right, the CEO of Market 30, Market 30, Three Square Market, okay, he's telling the world that very soon, eventually, he said, eventually this technology will become standardized, meaning this is just across the board, uniformed. This is just how things are done, okay? The modus operandi, so to speak, right? Standardized, allowing you, that you see the funny word, it's allowing you, man, right? Allowing you to use this as your passport, right? That's an ID, okay? Public transit soon is going to be all ID, and of course paying. All purchasing opportunities, etc. See, buying and selling. He said all purchasing, okay? So they're letting you know this is the end result of our plans. Now we have it. We have the technology. They've taken over almost the past decade to prepare people's brains and the minds. All right, no pun intended. All right, their brains for this new step. Okay, the next brave new step, man. And that's why they got Trump in there. Okay, that's why you see all the things that you're seeing around the world, and especially here in America. You've seen it. Okay. It says, as it stands now, the RFID C to the H to the I to the P implant will allow employees to make purchases in the company's break room market, as well as open doors, log in to computer systems, use copy machines and other things, or prevent access. See? It works like the now familiar RFID proximity near field communication NFC or NFC cards used in contactless credit cards to pay for and gain access to public transportation, as well as a diverse range of other applications such as tracking products. So if they have that tracking products, you don't think they could track you, right? Like that's the whole point of them creating that, so they could track you. See? It says including once living organisms such as fish and timber as they make their way across supply chains to markets. Let's see. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this article, if I don't forget, Lord willing, I'll put this in the description. Let me read this. Let me end it off with this right here. It says, quote, a micro C-hip implanted today to allow for easy building access and payments could, in theory, be used later in more invasive ways. To track the length of employees' bathroom or lunch breaks, for instance, without their consent or even their knowledge, the New York Times' Maggie Astor reports. See? You see? They said future implications. Right? There's a little bit of juice right here. Let's get a little bit of that. It says Carnegie Mellon University professor of information technology and public policy Alessandro Acquisiti highlighted some of the sensitive issues associated with implanting C-hips in human subjects. Companies often claim, there's a quote, companies often claim that these C-hips are secure and encrypted, end quote, he told the New York Times. And, quote, it says, encrypted is a pretty vague term that could include anything from a truly secure product to something that is easily hackable, end quote. You hear that? Hackable. The same word that Noah Harari used, all right, describing humans. He says human beings are now hackable creatures. They're like hackable animals, so to speak. Like it's like this is how they speak of you people, man. But I mean, I see why, because some people actually do, move like that. So I see it, But war is coming, man. All right, war is coming. This prophecy is fast approaching. We're in those times. J.P. Morgan and all that. It's just watch. You see. Okay, you see, man. All right, you will see. Let's get this real quick. Hey, beautiful times, man. Beautiful times we're in. Call Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Beautiful times. All right, Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, this is the book of there's a book of Isaiah chapter 55. Let's see in verse. Let's start from verse 9. At verse 8, it says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord Yahweh. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain cometh down, and the snow from heaven, and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth, and maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower, and bread to the eater, so shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. Okay, so whatever the Lord has ordained, that's exactly what's going to happen. In this case, he's ordained for this trial. Okay, this hour of temptation, the time of the greatest temptation any man will ever face. Those of us who believe, of course, we have that spirit to believe on the Heavenly Father, his Son, and the promises that he's made. All right, these warnings that he's given through the prophets, all right, through the scriptures and so on and so forth, has prepared us for this time. And we're seeing things that leads to those times that we dread whenever we thought about. Yes, we get excited because it symbolizes that we're almost out of here, right? It's the times that the Lord comes back to deliver us, yes. But it's the trials of going through that, the agony, the temptation of the stress, the pain, the suffering. You see? But what did the Lord say? He said this. This is the part. This is why you have to have hope, man. Right? Faith and hope. Okay? You can't go wrong with that. All right? You can't go wrong with that. Right? Book of Revelation chapter 3 verse 10 says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Okay? And I believe we've gone through this before. All right, but we're going to do it again real fast. All right, the word try, all right, is a Greek word, pirazo, all right, which says to try, make trial of, to test for the purpose of ascertaining his quality. Okay, so this is a Most High's test. All right, the MOTB is the Most High's trial. All right, it's the Most High's trial, man. Okay, so let me see if I can. So if you pass it, right, those who pass it is only going to be the elect that's going to pass it, right? So it says what? Let's see. Where is it? I think it's a little bit more. I think the root word, all right, of pirazo, it says pira. It says a trial, right? That's the try, right? The trial. It says experience, attempt. It says from the base of G4008, which is piran. Okay, but we got the word pira. It says through the idea of piercing. Okay, through the idea of piercing, man. All right, so to try you, right? So it's coming. All right, it's coming. That's the that's the temptation right there. It's coming. All right, it seems like it sounds so far away, but yo, look at what we just read. All right, that's how close we are. And the apostles always say we're months away from this thing, man. Months. All right, this time you pretty much say weeks. All right, because weeks become months, but we talking weeks now. When you see them talking like this, how long we got? Say, what's going to happen in 2026? See, if we got this far, this quickly, what's going to happen in the next year? It's probably going to move even faster, right? So we can all have faith that, hey, the Lord about to do something, man, heavy. All right, these prophecies are all fulfilling themselves. So, hey, it's always, it's not far-fetched to believe that this thing is literally months away. All right, because we see all the signs. Anyway, I'm leaving it off there. Lord willing, you are edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.